architecture again of all of the events. It was very classic American and New York, I felt. Did you?
I think people look great. And I like the tuxedos.
I love what you wore yesterday. I saw you out there on the the parade route. You looked wonderful.
I was going with something more warm. It was jaw-droppingly warm what I was wearing yesterday.
Let's bring our panel back. CNN political analyst and columnist for the Washington Post, Josh Rogan, CNN politics reporter Eugene Scott, and political economist Greg Valliere. He's the chief strategist at Horizon Investments. Welcome, everybody. To stay on this subject, Eugene, what I think is interesting is there is a picture now of the Trump world, a tableau of Trump. He is the guy in Washington, and I think that there's a new tone that is being set, even by, the optics of this. You've got his daughter here and her husband, who will be a big part, we think, of his administration. His wife will go back tomorrow, I think, to New York, right? Their son's the 10-year-old is going to stay in New York for the next few months. It's a whole new team in town.
It definitely is. One of the really interesting things about when you elect a leader, especially here in the United States, Americans don't just look at the president, they look at the family. I mean, you hear people who have very kind and emotional responses to Michelle Obama and the girls as well. And you see that also with the Trump family when you talk to a lot of the supporters. And one of the things I find myself hearing often from people who voted for Donald Trump is that his whole image, his whole brand is very aspirational. And it makes many people feel like they too can have something great. Maybe if they buy something from Ivanka Trump's line or a Trump necktie, that they too somehow can get a grasp of this American dream that they think the Trump family embodies.
Yeah. I just want to let you know I was wearing a suit by Men's Warehouse. Okay, all the viewers out there, just for the record.
I think they maybe could tell.
Yes, I think that's right. I know. I thought it was interesting that one of the very first orders of business for the Trump administration was to take the crimson drapes down out of the Oval Office and replace them with bright gold drapes. Okay, there's a lot of things they had to do yesterday, but they made sure that got done.
Well, first of all, the Oval Office, the decor in the Oval Office is actually, I think, always changed within those hours between one outgoing president and one incoming president. So I think the fact that it was changing in and of itself, not a surprise. The fact that the gold, I think those are Reagan-esque, right? Didn't Reagan have a similar setup to that? I'm not 100% sure. Eugene, though, Josh, I want to pick up on something Eugene said that was really interesting. He was talking about the Trump brand being aspirational.
Sure.
Because if you look at the overall themes from yesterday, people noticed it was bleak. People picked up on the American carnage line. People want to know where the hope, where the shining city on a hill is. And it's interesting. Eugene's take on it is that there are people who look at all of that and say there is an element of aspiration.
Sure, I think that's fair, and I also think that what Trump does best is brand himself.
Right.
Not just him, his family. They are international branders. They've expanded their brand in ways that, has really never been done before, and there's no reason they shouldn't take that skill and apply it to what they're doing now. People, around the world have associated the Trump brand with a high level of quality, elegance, refinement, luxury, right? That's what they've been selling, and that's what they did sell during the campaign to a lot of people. Now, can they deliver that sort of high standard of living and that sort of image on the ground? That remains to be seen.
It's fascinating that a guy who lives in a marble tower, he literally lives in a marble tower, is the hope for people who feel like they don't have any hope in the working class.
He needs her. I'd make this point about her. And by the way, I'm going to wear North Face this weekend. He needs her. She softens him.
Ivanka or Melania?
Melania. Both of them, really. But he was so bleak, you're right, and he's a tough guy. He doesn't smile a lot. But having her so elegantly dressed near him softens his image a little. I think that's a plus.
Talk about, again, some of the themes from yesterday. People look at this as the most populist inaugural address ever. More populous than Andrew Jackson's, who was considered the first populist president. I read Andrew Jackson's both of his inauguration speeches yesterday. They were nothing like what we heard.
And he talked about the hope of the free press. Andrew Jackson talked about a free press.
Andrew Jackson rejoiced in the free press.
Yes, he did.
Hear from Donald
For the record,
yesterday.
everyone.
I want to play just a little bit more from Donald Trump yesterday.
Today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Again, and that was very high up in his speech. After thanking the former presidents, he basically, was slapping the former presidents and people on that stage.
Right, and I think starting today, we're going to see how that's going to play out because, of course, he's got to staff this administration, 5,000 people. A lot of them are the Washington power military guys. All right, so you've got these two competing power centers now in D.C. Which one represents the little guy? I'm not really sure, but it's going to be a struggle.
And again, I still don't know. And again, we're only hours into the presidency. I don't know if what is said and what is done will march hand in hand. I'm not sure that the things he will do will necessarily be as purely populist as the words he says.
Sure.
We're going to talk about this more in a second. We're going to take a quick break. Because even as President Trump was taking the oath of office, there were protests, really riots, in some parts of the city. Those were riots. We saw violence yesterday. Today, we are expecting to see protests, peaceful protests, thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands on their way here right now. We're live on a bus coming this way. That's next.
Hey, where are you going? We've got that thing. You know, diarrhea, abdominal pain.
But we said we'd be there.
Who makes the decisions around here? It's me. Don't think I'll make it. Stomach again. Send.
If you're living with frequent, unpredictable diarrhea and abdominal pain, you may have irritable bowel syndrome with diarrhea, or IBS-D, a condition that can be really frustrating. Talk to your doctor about Viberzi, a different way to treat IBS-D. Viberzi is a prescription medication you take every day that helps proactively manage both diarrhea and abdominal pain at the same time, so you stay ahead of your symptoms. Viberzi can cause new or worsening abdominal pain. Do not take Viberzi if you have or may have had pancreas or severe liver problems, problems with alcohol abuse, long-lasting or severe constipation, or a blockage of your bowel or gallbladder. If you're taking Viberzi, you should not take medicines that cause constipation. The most common side effects of Viberzi include constipation, nausea, and abdominal pain. Stay ahead of IBS-D with Viberzi.
The world is full of surprising moments. They're everywhere. And as a Marriott Rewards member, I can embrace them all.
The new Marriott portfolio of hotels now has 30 brands in over 110 countries. So no matter where you go, you are here. Join or link accounts at members.marriott.com.
Looking for a home service pro you know you can trust? For over 15 years, homeowners have trusted HomeAdvisor to find only the best home pros and do a thorough background check. So start every job at HomeAdvisor.
HomeAdvisor. Find your winter in Korea. Draw your winter story in Pyeongchang 2018.
Everywhere I go, I've got it covered. New Dream Cushion Liquid Foundation from Maybelline, New York. Liquid Foundation reinvented. Complete luminous coverage and a perfect dose cushion. For fresh face perfection you'll love. Hit refresh with just a tap. Maybelline's new Dream Cushion. Liquid foundation in a compact. Complete coverage for fresh face perfection. Make it fresh. Make it happen. Maybelline, New York.
You're searching a bunch of websites looking for the best hotel deal. Stop doing that to yourself. Let Trivago do it for you. Trivago compares prices from hundreds of websites and apps at the same time. It's that simple. Hotel? Trivago.
Today, one day after the Trump inauguration, hundreds of thousands of people are expected to take part in the Women's March on Washington. It is the centerpiece of what is actually a global movement reacting against the Trump presidency. Marches and protests are planned today in cities across the country and really around the world. CNN's Bryn Gingras is on the road this morning with one group of protesters. They are traveling by bus from New York City to Washington. Good morning, Bryn. I met a lot of women yesterday on the streets who had already gotten here. They wanted to make sure they got here in time for 10 o'clock to begin the march. Tell me about the women you're with today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Christine, the anticipation is building on this bus. Everybody's sort of getting settled in, right? Are we excited? Everyone's sort of getting settled in as we're still right now in Union Square, and we're about leaving in 5 minutes to head down to Washington, D.C. for about that 5-6 hour drive. I got to tell you, though, this is just one of many buses that are circling around